I'm proud to be a gay writer and not just a writer who happens to be gay.
Mm-hmm.
First, how come? And second, aren't you looking forward to the time when it just doesn't matter?
Yeah, I am looking forward to that time. Unfortunately, that time isn't here yet. And the stories that matter to me at the moment, and I think in the life of any writer, there's a lot of fluidity and things change, but the stories that matter to me most right now are the stories that aren't being told. And I've always said somewhat flippantly that any time that the majority of heterosexual writers want to start writing about gay characters, gay writers can just sit back and start writing about, straight people in the suburbs. But until that time comes, I'm happy to be telling these stories. I'm happy to have a particular interest in these stories that haven't been told. It's funny you asked me that question, because I was just thinking the other night that I can actually see a time when I will have been able to say what I wanted to say, and then think about saying other things. But I think that's kind of an arc that a lot of writers go through. At the moment, though, I'm very happy to be able to say that I'm a gay writer. Often we are asked questions like that, and the implication is that somehow we should just be writers who are gay. And of course, being gay is an ensemble characteristic in any human life, just as being heterosexual is. But we can't at the same time deny that the way we look at the world and mostly the way the world looks at us, impacts enormously how we go through our lives.
We're still, despite the fact that women have been writing forever, women writers and black writers, we're still seeing that because, I guess because guys like me, white, straightish guys, we're a pain. I mean, we do dominate, and in every sense of that word.
But I wonder if that's really such a bad thing. I've been reading a lot lately of the new masculinist writers, people like Benjamin Percy, who just wrote the short story collection Refresh, Refresh. He was the winner of the George Plimpton Prize from the Paris Review. And he's a 28-year-old guy. And the stories they're very macho, but they're not macho in the sense of staccato language and sort of blunt imagery. They're macho in the sense that they deal with men's lives. And he's a young guy, so he's not some old guy, sitting around going, back when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. So I think that the idea that gifted male writers are now sort of exploring what it means to be a man in these times, in the same way that women have always been doing that. And it's a good thing. And I think it's interesting that at the same time that they're doing that, a lot of the younger gay writers are writing stories that are very inclusive, and everyone's kind of finding their niche. But I think the culture has changed a lot. I think it's become very polarized along gender lines, especially in literature.
The book's divided into portraits, mosaics, and
mirrors.
Tell me about the portraits.
The portraits are primarily personality profiles, where I have actually interviewed the person in question and gotten some sense of what I wanted to know about them. Personality profiles have been my stock and trade as a journalist, and they're really my favorite thing to do, because I love talking to other people about their lives and writing it down. I have less of an interest in playing gotcha with my subjects than a lot of journalists do, because I really am very interested in what they have to say. Those have been my attempts to get questions from the people about how they live and why they live and what they do.
You've got Philippine, two of the guys from
Queer Spoke, yeah.
Because one of them is a gay actor playing a gay guy,
yeah.
And the other is a straight guy.
Yeah, playing a gay guy.
Playing a gay guy.
And it's really funny because both of those two characters in Queer Spoke did actually define two polar extremes of gay culture for a lot of gay men too. I mean, Gail Harold, who played Brian on Queer Spoke, he's a very macho, very dominant kind of a gay man of a certain type. And I think a lot of gay men identify with him, and just in the same way that a lot of them identify with Peter Page's character Emmett, who's a bit of a queen, in the best possible sense.
You know who in the book I most wished I had the chance to meet? Your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your mom and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
My mother was a very original character. My mother was an American school teacher. She met my father in Bermuda. They fell in love in 3 days and rode around on a motor scooter. And my mother was a woman with a lot of principles, a lot of morals of the best kind. She cared about freedom. I think any American who comes out of McCarthyism and becomes a Canadian based on that has these feelings about independence and free thought. And our whole family are very much free thinkers. We've never really fit in anywhere. My father is perhaps the black sheep of a fairly conservative family, and he raised us to be independent. My brother and I raised us to be independent thinkers as well. My mother, I don't think my mother ever completely understood me, but I think she knew she didn't understand me, and I think she worked very hard to be supportive anyway. The story you're referring to, when I couldn't, I wanted to read Dracula when I was 10, and the librarian wouldn't let me check it out. She said it was an adult book, and my mother hated the idea that there are books that you can't read. So she took me down to the Smiths and tried to buy me a copy of the book. And she was like that her whole life. She died of cancer in 2000, and we clashed periodically, as mothers and sons tend to do, but I can honestly say that it was never about my sexual orientation, which I think is a tremendous gift. We had philosophical differences, we had differences in ideas about how the world should be, or how I should be, or how she should be. But she always worked very hard to understand, and when she couldn't understand, she let me do what I wanted. She trusted me to follow my own star. And I owe her a lot for that. She bought me my first typewriter when I was, I guess that was 1972, the same year of the Dracula. She bought me my first typewriter in 1972. In fact, I think it might even have been hers from university that she had cleaned up and prepared. She never told me what to write, never told me what to write on it, and that's a wonderful gift right there.
I think you should be awfully proud of this. Good collection.
Well, thank you.
Nicely done,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The book is Other Men's Sons. I've been speaking with the author, journalist, writer Michael Rowe, and Other Men's Sons, published by Cormorant.